PLD Projects presents Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast featuring PLD and Matty Gunner. May the Force be with you, always. What's up, everybody? Welcome to PLD Projects. I am your host, PLD, and right here is my trusty apprentice, PLD Matty.
Apprentice?
PLD Gunner.
No, that doesn't work.
My son, you're not going to be my little group.
Your son?
My little Dave.
Your son.
My little Dave is going to be... Doesn't work? Okay. I'll try again. Matty Gunner, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. I had a bunch of fucking technical problems to start the show, but we're here. We're good. We're here to celebrate Star Wars. Actually, that was a couple weekends ago. But still, we're on this show to celebrate Star Wars, and we are also going to celebrate the birthday of someone very special to us, our good friend Ken Knapsack. Ken, if you're listening, happy birthday, buddy. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for everything you've done, everything you, Joseph and Jennifer do. We really appreciate it. And yeah, happy birthday, bud.
It's definitely a very happy birthday to a venerable Jedi Master, Ken Knapsack. This is the way. This is the way to Del Taco, and we love Ken here, absolutely. So definitely happy birthdays to you, sir. I gotta say, Matty, you did have some technical difficulties. I might cut that out and make that a Patreon exclusive, little blooper reel, so to speak, because that was kind of funny. All I hear is just Matty go "fuck" at one point. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, I got pretty mad. I
was a little scared there. I didn't know what you were going to do. But here we are. We are at the season finale, the final episode of the season 4 Mandalorian, Chapter 24, The Return, Season 3, Episode 8. And before we dive into it, a couple of quick points. First of all, if this is your first time here on the PLD Projects Network watching Holy Snokes, I realize I never said our name, our Holy Snokes, our Star Wars podcast, click that like, click that subscribe. Leave us comments. Let us know what you think. Tell us how wrong we are. We're okay with that. Tell us how right we are. We like that too. Hopefully, we have a modest goal of 500 subscribers here on YouTube. We are marching towards that goal slowly but surely. And anything you can do to give us a jetpack to boost us over the edge, that would be greatly, greatly appreciated. Now, usually around Holy Snokes, we actually usually start with the news first, and then we go into the review. Last week, we kind of flipped it, and we kind of liked it. So I think we're going to do that from now on. Of course, we make that decision now when, after the first time in 3.5 months, we're not going to have weekly Star Wars content for a while. But that's okay.
Unless we do like week by week one episode of Visions, but we're probably not going to do that.
I don't see us doing week by week one episode of Visions. I mean, we could break it up, but I don't know. Maybe we'll have to see. We'll have to discuss that. Visions is coming up. I'm excited about that. But as of now, let's break right into this episode. It was a season finale, although it kind of felt a little like a series finale in a way, didn't it?
A little bit. Yeah, it felt like the tying together of a lot of loose ends. I know a lot of people are divisive on this, and they're saying that, this didn't give them everything that they thought was going to happen. But guess what? We have that conversation at the end of every Star Wars show. Unfortunately, they don't have all this time to connect everything together. But right now, the story of Din Djarin and Din Grogu is complete for now. This part of their story is complete for now.
Absolutely. It's kind of funny you mentioned this. I felt the same way. We can even fall victim to some of this ourselves sometimes. It's after the credits started airing, I had a slight disappointment with it to a degree. I'm not going to lie. But after I sat with it only took about 5 minutes to sit with it for a minute. I sat there and I realized it was more external things that were disappointing than internal things. And that's really not something you can blame on the show itself. What I mean by that is I fell victim to my own sometimes not so responsible speculation. I fell victim to other things as well. And it's not just on myself. I mean, some quotes from even some of the creatives behind it let us so in some way that it didn't end up going. Although I did find, I don't know how true this is. I read a tweet from Laura Kelly this morning, famous Laura Kelly, awesome Star Wars pundit, news source, former Schmoedown competitor, Laura Kelly, wonderful person. She says that according to some people she was talking to, that they filmed different versions of a few scenes and no one was sure which would be the final version. So I'm wondering if some of the comments that were made might have been based on versions that did not air for various reasons, which could be.
Yeah, here's the thing with that. Unfortunately, we're in a position now where we kind of get to see how the sausage is made to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But one thing that everyone needs to realize is that is a business decision.
Right.
We should, and you're right, we do let these things affect us, myself included. And this is something that I need to get better at, is not letting the business practices affect the art. Unfortunately, while we are somewhat pundits to this game, we're not in the room at Lucasfilm. We have no say what goes on. Lucasfilm and Disney are not going to pander to the audience. They are going to give us some things that we want. They are very good at that. They are very good at giving the fans what they want to see, but they're not going to do it all the time. And I was very much looking forward to seeing Thrawn showing up and chastising Moff Gideon. I really was, but we didn't get it. But that doesn't mean we're not going to get it in the future. Unfortunately, we don't get to call those shots.
Yeah, speculation was rampant out there. There's going to be a Luke appearance, which didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I thought maybe I thought the Thrawn thing at the end, maybe we'd have our first Star Wars post-credit, because it's partly because we are entering a new phase for Star Wars in terms of this is going to be a more interconnected story. Now, that Star Wars itself has always been interconnected, but The Mandalorian really kind of set itself apart as being very kind of its own bubble, so to speak. And it kind of gone out since there. And now with the announcement of Ahsoka definitely being like part of the Mandoverse, skeleton crew, and leading up to this big Mandoverse movie, I almost felt like we were going to get a Marvelized thing where we're going to get like the end credit. We might get a post-credit scene, which, like you said, had Thrawn. Gideon was going to get away and Thrawn was going to kill him or something to that effect. Be a big introduction to the blue guy in live action. Or I thought potentially, we know obviously the next show we're getting is Ahsoka, which is obviously Ahsoka and Sabine are a big part of that. And Sabine being a Mandalorian, it made sense to me that Sabine might somehow show up or be on Mandalore at the time, or being around Mandalore, might show up in the finale to help out or something like that. But that's the connectivity thing, and but you don't have to connect in the same ways, especially considering I know David said that Ahsoka shouldn't be necessarily viewed as a continuation right from Mandalorian and I didn't know what he meant by that necessarily, because I'm like, well, it's connected, so shouldn't it be? Now I kind of get it and I see it. You can be connected without having to be like really like intensely connected that way. And I'll say that at the end, after those 5 minutes of discussion, I realized that this season finale was exactly what needed to be for an internalized season finale. Like, this was a show. It was very good for the show itself. And all my disappointment is tended on not stupid stuff that didn't need to happen. And I look at just what they presented us and just what they gave us as a finale. Yeah, there's some moments that were maybe a little rushed, maybe a little bit, maybe the battles felt almost a little easy potentially. But overall, I felt it was an awesome finale.
Here's the thing with the battles being fairly easy, and you're not the only person I've seen bring this up. You're a pro wrestling fan.
Yeah.
I am somewhat a casual pro wrestling fan, but they want to set up the Mandalorians to be this big imposing force for when this movie happens, right? We're led to believe this movie is going to happen, right?
Nice.
So you kind of almost want them to blow through the Imperials, because then that shows like we are a united Mandalore and nothing could stop us once we're together. That was the whole point of, I believe, this season was to show the reformed Mandalore and establish them as the force that we grew up knowing them to be.
Right. I get that to a degree. I flip it the other way around sometimes also. I think about like, because they build it up, Moff Gideon and the Imperial Remnant as this like big force. And it just seemed like if we're going to want to build the Mandos up, we almost have to have them face a big force and have it be, I mean, not that it wasn't a struggle. I'm not going to say it looked very easy. I'm just saying it was more that it was quick. It was quicker than I thought. Than anything else. Easier might not be the right word. Actually, just kind of felt like it was just not that it was a too like people. I don't people complain about the episode's length and everything else. And I think it was not necessarily that short. I could have used a little bit extra breathing room towards the end, but as it is, I still highly enjoyed the episode. I still think it's one of my favorite it's definitely one of my favorite of the season, and did a lot of what it needed to do. And then ending, we'll get there. We'll definitely get there. We come to the bounty and stuff.
Yeah.
But we're actually getting too far into our thing. This is not our thing. This is not what we do. We don't go beat by beat. We do this in segments, and that's how we we do things differently here on Holy Snokes. So, without further ado, let's get right into our sequences here, our segments, as we were. We always open up with one special sequence, or one special segment. We call it Hondo Watch.
Who wants to see Hondo's book? Talk to me!
Hey, and we're back with Hondo Watch 2023. This is, do we have an appearance from Hondo Ohnaka finally in live action? Do we have a Hondo Ohnaka returning to the galaxy far, far away? And in this case, my friend,
This effort is no longer profitable!
when will our great galaxy nightmare be over? Still no Hondo. Still no Hondo.
No.
Hmm.
But hey, I think in this one, if we'd have added Hondo into it, they would have just been more of the. But that's another thing that we need to ask a million questions about. Where has Hondo been this whole time? Oh my God, they're shoving everything in at once. Shut up.
Well, it's okay. I feel like we are going to get him sooner than later. I am feeling that this is going to be over soon. I don't know if we'll get him in Ahsoka, or if we'll get him maybe even in the movie or somewhere else. But I think Hondo's he's not too far away. I feel that in my bones.
I'm at acceptance now. We're gonna go through the 7 stages of grief, and I'm at acceptance.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on then to our next segment. We call this one The Bounty.
I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
Now, this is where we kind of do go a little bit quickly through beat by beat just to get a quick summary of what went down. And we touch on based on some things. We usually expand later on throughout. But just to know we're all the same place. Any overall notes we have. We start off really quickly with Boca Tan leading the Mandalorians out. Just like it's a continuation. It almost felt like these last 2 episodes were one giant episode. So if you're complaining about length, just watch the 2 episodes back to back and you're okay then. At this point, Boca Tan leading the Mandalorians out to safety. Axes flying up through space to get to the reinforcements, so to speak.
The Iron Man shot.
Definitively an Iron Man shot. I was always like, that RDJ? Is that RDJ? Okay, no, okay. It's kind of it's a great action sequence, of course. Bo and Casca staying behind to kind of fire off at the Imperial troopers who are still the Imperial armored commandos. We're still coming after the retreating Mandalorians, whereas Din is being escorted through Gideon's base. And here's one of those first things where it's like, oh my God, we're going to get a big internal interrogation sequence between Gideon and Din. But no, that doesn't happen because Arson quickly realized that Grogu is there with him. Yeah. And Grogu saves Din from being dragged too much further. No. Although it did lead to my one bit. I wasn't sure how Grogu got there because I think Grogu was behind the wall, and all of a sudden I didn't see how that all went down. But
it worked.
It worked. He's a Jedi.
He ran.
Jedi-ish. He ran.
He ran really, really fast. I put a theory in Thank the Maker Discord chat that there was going to be a mind flare waiting for him, and I was expecting a full-on tragic ending of Grogu going to rescue Din removing the helmet and not recognizing Grogu. So I was fully preparing myself for that heartbreak. So when I just see IG's arm come flying through, I'm like, whew. I'm glad I'm not going to get the blame for that.
Fair enough. So at this point, Gideon starts receiving news from the command that the interceptors and bombers have launched towards the capital ship, but he also realizes that Din has escaped. So Moff does the whole, it was like very Darth Maul, I'll take care of him myself kind of thing.
You dare compare those two?
Oh, they're both badasses. Come on. Both
no, one's a sniveling little shit weasel, and the other's the greatest villain in Star Wars history.
That's debatable. So I love Maul. I love Maul. But anyway, but he does pull. He's like, and I'm going to deal with it myself. And he starts heading north towards his base, I guess, or towards his command center, which is where Din is asking R5 to pop down or scomp down, as he says. I like that word. I don't know why. I just kind of I don't know where that came from. I don't hear that very often, but he's going to scomp down into the base and hook up to a terminal and figure out where Moss command center is. Woves gets up to the command center, or the capital ship rather, lets them know what's going on. They all start heading down towards it, and then he stays behind in the big ship. And it's the big ship versus a bunch of interceptors and bombers, and man, did they wreak havoc on that capital ship. It was pretty quickly out of control. But that's kind of what they were expecting at this point. They got the fleet out of there for the most part, and just the one capital ship would be the big decoy. Then, of course, Din reaches the command center, where we see those doors we saw last week, and kind of I don't know how it couldn't, but it definitely brought back to mind the Naboo in episode 1. Speaking of Darth Maul, with the laser gates, so to speak. But no force running through this time, so nobody gets caught. But I almost was wondering, are we going to get a sequence where Din and Grogu were going to be caught in between the energy gates like Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan? And,
that would have been. That I don't think I would have been able to take that, especially if Din started kneeling down. I would have been like, no. But he went, the action sequences in that were really, really great, especially because they had so little space to work with. Lateef Crowder doing like a full-on capoeira sweep, like where he put his hand on the ground and then kicked up. I was just like, wow, okay. I didn't know Din could do that.
Din, I gotta say, and this is not a criticism at all. Please don't take it that way. But Din used to get his ass kicked a lot in the beginning part. I felt like at the beginning part of the series, you kind of feel like it was always taken down. He became like the raid guy here at this point. Like he was just going through.
The raid is a really good, similarity, because I felt like he wasn't going floor to floor. Like the Dark Troopers got more and more badass per different things. So you had like 2 of them just had knives, then they had batons, then they had shields, then they had blasters and shields. I was like, okay, so he's going through. It's almost kind of like Boss Level, the movie with Frank Grillo.
Yes, absolutely.
It was like an upgrade each thing. But yeah, dude, once you get that adrenaline going through, you can run through a brick fucking wall, especially if you're wearing Beskar armor.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I felt like it was like the raid, and I loved it. I loved it so much. So they get the gates go down. He goes bit by bit, which is a good way to do it. Then we go back to the mouse droids, the mouse droids have. It's funny, like obviously, Star Wars uses similar audio cues for things all the time, but none more specific than the mouse droid. Every time you see the mouse droid, it's always that do 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 do. It's every time you see it, that's what they say. Like, so they're saying the same thing. I don't know. Maybe they have only a limited vocabulary, but
it's the fact that they had like little sirens on the top of them, and then one of them like drives away, and then suddenly it's like a whole squadron of cop cars just come flying through, and they're just like bumping into R5. And shout out to R5. R5 got not his redemption, because we don't use that word around here, but the fans were redeemed for their treatment of R5, because R5 is a goddamn war hero yet again.
Yes, he is. He's proved his mettle. He proved his mettle despite his being a little nervous. He's Din's buddy now. Din likes him. He's definitely Din's buddy, so that's good.
They were just like all ramming into him, so he was just like, "Yeah, I'm out of here. See ya." He just flew
up. Meanwhile, we switch back over to Boca Tan and her followers. They reach where the survivors of Mandalorian had kind of been hiding out, not their home, but one of their hideouts, and it's like a lush cave full of these like plants and stuff, like which haven't been seen on Mandalore for a long time. And Boca Tan specifically says, like, I've never seen anything like this except for inside the dome cities. It's a great metaphor for like the rebirth of Mandalore as a whole. Like it gave me that positive feeling of Mandalore is going to return, but it's not going to be quite the same Mandalore we are used to.
Yeah.
Okay, and after that comes down, the followers of the reinforcements come back into play. I want to let you know, and Boca Tan has her great moment. She puts the helmet right back on. Let's go retake our world. It's like,
I love that line.
Shit. They all get together. They all start flying together. The armor and Boca Tan side by side. All the forces are coming, and they are coming for Moff Gideon and his crew at that base. So we go back, switch back to Din, of course. Now he's gotten through his gauntlet of Imperial troops, and we get the showdown we are waiting for. It's Moff versus Din. Actually, first before we get there,
Yeah, no, before we see the
Big
clones.
moment. Yes, the big moment. I was
kind of a big moment.
It's kind of a big moment. Yeah, we go through and we see what we saw last week, which we predicted were clones, and that made sense. And then we also kind of made some predictions that they were Gideon clones in there. Now we didn't get a confirmation. I guess it wasn't Gideon clones in the troopers, like I thought my son posited. It looks like these clones weren't quite ready, although we don't really know. Maybe the clones, maybe
they were
the commandos were.
He said that they were taken before they drew their first breath.
Those were the ones that were the Force, the ones that he said, because he said it later on. He says that he was working on ones. They're supposed to be the perfect clones, ones that could actually access the Force, and those would be the army he would make. I'm wondering if the troopers he had were like generations that didn't have the Force. They're like on this normal Gideon clones, maybe, and that's what he meant.
Maybe.
We still don't know. But either way, we do. We see that these are Gideon clones. We have that very big horror moment when one of the eyes snaps open and freaks poor baby Grogu out, poor baby Dave out. But that they blow up the clones. They only can. They get in there, and Moff is pissed now. And Moff explains exactly what we just said, that they were clones of him, and he had been exactly what I thought he was doing, or exactly what I thought somebody was doing. I've always posited that one of the big experiments with the clones were try to get to have a clone access to Force. You can create a massive clone with Force army. And I'm going to take a little bit of a time here. I don't know if I can't remember if I've mentioned this on the show before, but way back in the day, that was a theory I had back in the prequels. I had this running theory for a long time, and I got ridiculed for it. A lot of people got ridiculed me for it. After episode 1, I posited that Palpatine and Sidious were actually, in fact, different people, and that Palpatine was a clone of Sidious. Because the idea was that Sidious, I had up in my head, because like they were like, well, it's obviously the same actor. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm like, that's what a clone is. It's the same thing. And my idea was that Sidious was trying to find one of the Attack of the Clones was going to be Sidious was going to be trying to find a Sith army. And the reason why he ended up cloning Jango Fett and not cloning Darth Maul, for example, is because you couldn't clone the Force, because the clone was like an unnatural life, and then the Force was a natural thing, and the Force was rejecting the clones or something like that, because they were born from a test tube instead of being born naturally. And the idea was Palpatine was going to be one of those forces, and because he couldn't touch the Force, that's why the Jedi Council never really felt anything wrong with him to the degree they didn't. Like, he was able to sneak in underneath their thing. That Sidious couldn't do it himself, because the Jedi Council would have felt the dark side. With Palpatine, they couldn't. I had this whole theory for this longest time, and it actually got disproven. And it's fine, whatever. I still think it was a fun.
I mean, you went far off. Sidious does become a clone.
That's the thing. Like, and down the way, I got to be more and more justified, right? But it's ever since the clone started becoming a big story, especially in this universe, especially with Palpatine's return, I was like, this is exactly it. So I'm watching this, like, Gideon is doing exactly what I said Palpatine was doing. He's trying to find a Force clone version of himself. But either way, Din takes care of that real quickly, so that at least that part of the story is done, unless Mr. Hux is going to take up on that in a different way, which potentially could be. Still could be.
We'll get there. Yeah, we gonna get there.
So we have the great fight between Din and Moff, and then of course Grogu steps in, but then the Praetorian guards come in and start whipping on Din, and then Grogu starts trying to take care of them. They get separated like we thought. It was kind of a worried moment. We got 3 Praetorian cards and Grogu and IG-12, and then Moff versus Din. And it was one of the saddest is the wrong word, most tense moments. Din going, no, as the door closes, but then Moff starts attacking, so he's got to deal with that.
Yeah. I thought that was going to lead. At first, I was like, oh, hell no. Don't tell me they're going to, if they're going to off Grogu right now, then heads are going to roll at Lucasfilm. But then my head cleared. I was like, no, he brings it too much money for them to do that. That was so stupid. I thought we were going to get a Rorschach from Watchmen moment of the door closes and then Grogu being like, "I'm not stuck in here with you. You're stuck in here with me." And then just like start force choking the Praetorian Guard. That's what I thought we were gonna get.
I thought we might get that too. I was like, was this where where Grogu starts becoming a little more dark side in a way? Was that going to be where they're going to go? That he was tempted to use the dark side in this case as a kid. But he doesn't. He kind of does this kind of funny, very Yoda-esque thing. Starts bouncing around. He's laughing. At one point, he starts laughing because he's just bouncing around so much, doing things. He's using the Force as he needs to, getting things away from him and stuff. It's a great battle sequence. And then, of course, the best moment is Boca Tan. Well, of course, I should take it back. Axe Woves takes the ship, starts calling out. It's going down. He's going to crash it into the base to take out the base. He starts yelling at Boca Tan, everybody to evacuate. Everybody else really starts evacuating. Bo starts coming back. Bo gets there to save the day, and Bo has his badass moment where she slides in and attacks Moff Gideon, and it's 1-on-1. So let's
a lot of knee slides in this episode.
Yes,
there
were
a lot of knee slides.
There were. It kind of makes sense because that's what Bo. I remember Katie Sackhoff mentioned that she had to like do some knee slides this season before the season began. Now it makes sense. So Din gets to go save Grogu, while Bo goes 1-on-1 with Gideon to try to get her revenge after everything that had went down. Great battle sequences there. Din and Grogu versus the Praetorian Guards, and you get Bo versus Moff Gideon. We have the moment that was, I think, I was very unhappy when it happened, but at the end of the day, I think it was the right move. And that is the destruction of the Darksaber.
Oh, I was pissed. I
knew you were. I thought about that. I thought about you. I'm like, well, I wasn't happy with that.
I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
But it makes...
He's such a Mandalorian wannabe. I was like, you fucking idiot. Why did you do that? But then I was like, oh, wait, they're trying to unite Mandalore. Duh, it makes sense.
It absolutely makes story sense for the exact reason. Afterwards, they said it. It's like, you know what? Anybody who leads can, like, because it actually showcased it just a little while ago. Anybody who has a Darksaber becomes a leader, but that means anybody can challenge that one person and become leader just like that, like without having to, like, that just is a bad form of government. Somehow you'd have the worst person taking it.
They still can challenge. They can still challenge one warrior to another, like that.
Potentially, but winning the Darksaber doesn't quite have that same effect anymore. Yeah. It's not like when you win the Darksaber, it's like an automatic thing, and you have the Darksaber. You don't have that Darksaber anymore. It was a little more difficult to say I'm in charge completely now. That's what I kind of feel like in a way. It's just a more symbolic thing than anything else that we are uniting Mandalore. We don't need the Darksaber to choose our leaders, so to speak. At the end of the day, though, like it makes sense to me. I like it moving forward. I think it was a good way for the Darksaber to end at that point. I'll miss the Darksaber, obviously, but it was kind of a cool moment, and it led to an even cooler moment. Moff thinks he's beaten her. He's like, he has that great line. He's like, Mandalorians are nothing without their trinkets. And then, of course, he's like, nope, because he sees Din coming in. Mandalorians are stronger together. And he comes in, and the Din and
together.
Exactly, a stronger together moment. And sometimes you pick things, you cherry pick things, some great moments from other franchises, and it works. I am no Jedi thing kind of works similar in a way. So they had the big battle between the two of them, three of them, I should say, and four of them actually, because Grogu starts getting involved. And Moff really holds his own. I'm not gonna lie, Moff holds his own. But at the end of the day, the ship comes down and Moff gets cut up. He, just like his character in Breaking Bad, he gets frisky bud.
I gotta shout out. There's a user on Twitter that I saw this morning, Darth Mayhem. She put up it was a spoiler post, and it said Moff Gideon after this episode, and it was the shot of Gus. Where he's got like half his face, he's like whole of his face is missing after the explosion.
Right.
That crushed me. I thought that was hilarious.
It was. I saw the same one actually. I was very impressed with that. But then Grogu pulls his best version of Kanan, but even better, and stops the explosion from happening over our heroes. It's a really powerful moment. Really, really amazingly powerful moment, and We win. The good guys win. After that, we go to the ceremony where the armor holds a ceremony, and we have Ragnar swearing on the waters of Mandalore, and then we have Din pushing for Grogu. Now Grogu can't speak, so he can't become an apprentice. But Din says, "Fuck that! I'm going to make him my son, and I'm going to say he's an apprentice." And the armor,
Yes.
the armor's like, "Okay, well, okay then." And that's when he gets the name Din Grogu, which I did. I made a riff on in the beginning, joking about that. It is kind of strange because we don't like. It's kind of a weird way. Like, I don't. It's not an accident. They wouldn't make an accident like that. But it's kind of weird. We have like the Krees. You have Boca Tan and Satine Krees. We have Paz and Tar Vizsla. So like it's always been that kind of way. But as Din coming from somewhere else, where Din is actually his familial name, and Jaren is actually his actual name, maybe.
So there are some not communities. There are some nationalities in the real world, like specifically over in Asia, where they will put their last name before their first name. Right. So the current UFC Women's Strawweight Champion, her name is Weili Zhang, but they always announce her as Zhang Weili.
Okay.
So that is a real life thing that I guess they've taken over. Maybe it is just like some sects of Mandalore choose to put their last name first.
Right. And that's what I was thinking of, but I was saying like we haven't seen that yet, so it was kind of an interesting. Yeah. So it must be something new, or maybe that's something we're going to learn more of as we go down, potentially as we learn more about Mandalorians in general. But either way, the armor accepted it and didn't go and went with it. So there we go. And we end this little segment, of course. It was a surprise we didn't get the actual mythosaur. No one rode the mythosaur. That was the big speculation that Boca Tan or even Din or even Grogu was going to ride that mythosaur out during battle, and that was going to be the unification of Mandalore. We don't get that, but we do get Grogu connecting with the mythosaur. Grogu kind of comes out, as what it felt like anyway. It felt like the Grogu comes out, reaching in there, and then the mythosaur is still down there, teasing his appearance. So maybe we're going to get that in another future season potentially. Maybe that's going to be the movie. I don't know. But I was a little disappointed we didn't get that. But I'm like my part of me says, patience. I think they wouldn't show it down there if there wasn't going to be something that does happen in the future.
Yeah, part of me also thought we saw the eye was open in the first time we see it, but that doesn't mean it's alive.
Right.
That was my first thought. I was like, maybe it just like died and its eye is still open, and it's just Boca Tan seeing a mythosaur and the symbolism of the mythosaur on the wall. But then Grogu connected with it, and its eyes open again. And I was just like, oh, okay, it is alive.
There you go. So we're gonna definitely get it in the future. So I'm okay with it not being here now. Only disappointed is I just want to see it. That's all. I mean, it's just So either way. Okay. After that, the interesting big point about this is the armor. Not only is Grogu his apprentice and his son now, but that means that he has to take Grogu on his adventures. Now that's part of the missions I guess he do as an apprentice. Of course, that's all good story-wise. At the same time, haven't they been on adventures this entire time? But that's okay. I'm okay with that. We go off, and Din is separated from the Mandalorians now, which, again, this is kind of why I felt like a series finale part his last sequence does, because he goes back to Navarro. He doesn't go back to Navarro. First, he goes out to visit with old friend Captain Teva, Carson Teva, at the New Republic base, where it seems like all they do is drink. All they do is go to that bar and drink, and that's fine. I'm good with that. That's my kind of crew. Din offers himself to Carson and says it's a good idea. You know that the Republic can't handle all the stuff going on, especially the Imperial remnants out in the Outer Rim. So he would hire himself out as a contractor to New Republic, taking missions specifically that were suited for him and Grogu, and be kind of like a subcontractor to the New Republic employee. And Carson's like, "You're going to work for us?" Well, kind of. What we need, you'll see. Carson's like, "Well, I don't know. That's not going to pass muster. They won't like that, yada, yada, yada. I'll think about it." And Din's like, "Yeah, you already have. It's a good idea. We're going to do it." Like, okay. And in return, he gets the old IG-11 head, or like the IG, not IG-11 specific head, but an old IG head, which obviously has what he needs part-wise. So we return back to Navarro. We see the Anzelians, and we get IG-11 back. IG-11 is the new Marshal of Navarro, which is something we which is a very happy ending for me that way. It pays off what we heard.
Cara Hoon?
Exactly.
We got IG-11 back, baby.
Woohoo! Thank you. I'd rather have IG-11 back.
I'm a little upset that we're not going to see more of Grogu in IG-11. I'm a little upset about that.
I was a little bit too. I kind of like the no, yes thing.
Yeah.
I think that would have been
exactly better. Like we're not going to get that in the next season.
But I kind of feel like there's going to be a time jump in the season, a little bit of a time jump, and maybe Grogu will be more. I think we make it a larger puppet. Maybe now, maybe a little older, maybe a little more easy to move. But either way, Grief Karga gives Din this deed to a cabin out there, and we end the season. And what almost, like I said, this is what felt like a serious finale. They are sitting back. Grogu, Din's out chilling in front of his little cabin. Grogu's out with the Force talking about things, and then we had this awesome, funny circle ending, editing a circle wipe, so to speak, and that ends the season. And it's kind of
it was kind of like an old Acme cartoon, like
yes,
that's all, folks. At the end, the thing I love about this ending the most, you've seen so many movies, so you'll know this. That was such a John Wayne movie ending.
Yes.
Like the old outlaw on the ranch with his feet kicked up, his kid playing in the pond, and that's Brendan Wayne in the suit.
That is absolutely true. I didn't think about it
so beautiful.
But I thought about it as it went on. I was like, that really makes a lot of sense. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. So good work.
I mean, Brendan Wayne's what, his grandson?
Grandson, I believe it is, yes.
That dude, that's so like that's Star Wars poetry.
It really is. It really is. I did love that. All right, let's move on to our segments, and then we'll play a game of catch up at the end if we have anything else we need to talk about, if we miss anything during the rest of our segments. But the next segment we have in our site is called Mando of the Hour.
Let's just say they might recognize my face.
And this is quite simply, who is our favorite character of the week? Who is the Mandalorian of the hour? It could be anybody. It doesn't have to be a Mandalorian, but in this case, it usually is. Matty, I'll start with you. Who is your Mando of the hour?
Mine is Baby Dave. Baby Grogu.
Mr. Din Grogu himself.
The maturation that we have seen this kid go through to the point where Din is like, hey kid, I need you to be brave for me. And Grogu's probably thinking like, bitch, I survived Order 66. You think this is my first rodeo, pal?
I love it.
It's just like, there's the moment where like he's running around the light fixture up the top and he starts giggling. Like he's literally running rings around the Praetorian Guard.
Yeah, he was pretty awesome this week. He used the Force quite a bit, and if not quite the explosion I expected from him, I kind of expected almost a dark side moment, like a big show of power.
One moment I thought that we were going to get is when the Praetorian Guard, the one that wields the sword, dropped his sword and Grogu moved it over. I was like, oh shit, is he going to move it into Din's hand and is Din going to start wielding the guard sword?
I thought that too.
He just moved it out of the way. I was like, God damn it.
I also like it. Like at one point, he was going to take the sword of one of the swords himself. Like when he was in the by himself, he's like, he started moving. Like, is he gonna? That might look a little funny, but all right.
He just takes the potato sack off, and suddenly he's jacked.
Yeah. Good call.
Who's yours, buddy?
Mine is not something I usually pick. I usually don't pick the leading character, but I'm going to go with Din this week.
Okay, that's fair.
I mean, Din just showed it, like I said before. Like a lot of times during the seasons, he's kind of got his ass kicked a little bit. I thought he was a little easy to defeat at times, but he fucking was amazing this episode. He was kicking Rando's asses left and right. He had a good fight with the Praetorian Guards, good fight with Moff Gideon himself, and he made some great moments. He trusted, like you said, he trusted Grogu. It wasn't about like saving him. He's like, you know what? He's like, this is a serious time, and like I can't save you right now. I'm gonna need you to do what you need to do, and he trusted him to do so. And he had great battle sequences with everybody. And he went and everything about it was a great moment. He had a great moment with Carson Teva. He had a great moment with the armor. He knows he knows who he is now. I feel like he knows who he is more than he ever did before. He doesn't need his sect. He doesn't need to be with the armor and company. Like that's his that's his family, but he can go out and be his own man and still have the best of both worlds, so to speak. He helped free Mandalore. He was never wanting to be the leader of Mandalore. That's definitely I've always been Boca Tan's thing. And it's okay that we're now away from that. And he just had a great overall episode. He kicked ass. He did everything he needed to do. Go Din.
Yeah, he accepted his fate of becoming Space Daddy. I know there's the whole joke about with Ash and Pedro Pascal, the whole like, are you Space Daddy thing. Yeah, that's the character.
Yeah,
that
is
legitimately the character.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad to see that he's finally accepted his place.
Absolutely. All right, let's move forward to the next category. I have spoken.
I have spoken.
Quite simply, your favorite line of the week, our favorite line of dialogue in the episode. I'll start with this one. I already said it today. I said it earlier. It's the Mandalorians are stronger together. It's because it had that great moment. It just was a moment you were waiting for. They've been talking about it all season long, all series long, really. The Mandalorians are strong together. They're finally getting them together. We're finally seeing the united Mandalorian back. And when Moff Gideon says that you want to be Mandalorian, says, Mandalorians are nothing but other trinkets. It's just a great moment with Bo, helmet off, just look there. Someone who's failed probably as much as she succeeded, even though she's a badass as all hell. Mandalorians are stronger together. Boom, Din hits him, and it just was a great, powerful moment, a fist pump. Yes, good moment there. How about you? What was your favorite?
Mine is the line shortly before that. It's Moff Gideon's line of, what'll it be this time? Are you going to fight or are you going to run? And I feel, because that's when like Bo was getting her ass kicked.
Right.
And then you just see that look in her eyes and it's just like, oh, bro, you're so far.
Love it. Oh, that was good stuff.
I equated to Back to the Future of when you call Marty McFly chicken.
Chicken. I love it. All right, then the next little segment we have.
Do you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Put that in your Holocron and Snokes. This is where we take a look at something in the episode and go, I want a deeper dive on that. I want to know what's going on. Tell me more. You want to start with this one?
Yeah, I kind of want a little bit more of Navarro because I want to know, where did Grief Karga suddenly get all these cabins? Like, I think I said it on an earlier episode. I want to see the glow up of Navarro as it happens. We've seen quite a lot of Mandalore. So, yeah, I think the glow up of Grief Karga and Mandalore is something that I keep coming back to with this season. So, yeah, I'm going to go with that.
Fair. I picked something. I hesitated picking it because I think we are definitely going to get it. It almost felt like a cheap pick to me, but I can't help it. I'm going to go with it. It's the clones. It's the clones of Moff Gideon. I feel like we are going to get more, but because I think this isn't the only cloning project we have, obviously. But the idea that he was trying to put the clones together with someone who was a Force sensitive, so he could have Force sensitive clones. I mean, that's kind of like. I feel like that we're hooking it into Palpatine's return. I got to see how much further along was Moff. Where did he come from? Where did he go?
Where did he come from? Cotton Eye Joe?
Cotton Eye Joe, exactly. Moff Gideon's Cotton Eye Joe there, I guess. Where did he come from? Because I was saying, like, where did he get? I know it was partially Pershing's ideas, things of that nature. But did that come back? Do we have the bridge from like Hemlock? Is that the bridge from Hemlock and crew to Pershing to Moff Gideon to where you go further? Is that where Rendell Hux is going to come in with the Product Necromancer thing? Is that related in a way? You're going to talk about that in your Force Vision, I feel.
No, I'm actually going to bring it up. Well, I can bring it up now.
Right.
I found it interesting how he said to Hux, he was like, "Clones are your obsession, not mine."
Right. Yeah, I noticed
and
that
I was
too.
Like, interesting, because the Empire has a way of doing this thing where, and I'm going to lead into my thing is, and I'm going to expand on this. I think Gideon is gone now. They have the theme with Imperial villains is get rid of one, pick up what they were doing, carry it on.
Yeah.
Take one, pass it along. Take one, pass it along.
That's exactly what I did. Basically, what I just said: Hemlock to Pershing, Pershing through to Gideon. Gideon now will be picked up, or at least I think Brendel was doing his own thing, but I think it's related. So I think that it's going to have its own thing going on, and we'll see if the blue guy has anything to do with it, which he very well might. He very well might. That could be a big part of the game plan, so to speak. I also do agree, by the way, that I think this is the last we've seen of Moff Gideon. I mean, no body, no death. I get it. I understand that, but it feels like this was meant to be. This is this part of the movie over. That's what the series finale kind of feel had to it.
And this is where I'm going to push back on that theory as well. I see a lot of people saying we didn't see the body. We saw the body. The body went up in flames. But go back to John Wick 4.
Mm-hmm.
What does Ian McShane's character say? You arrogant ass.
Yeah.
There's no way that Gideon would have let a clone of himself take the glory of defeating Boca Tan and Din Djarin.
Right.
He's not that kind of a villain. He's not the one. He's not Thrawn. He's not 3 steps ahead. Yeah,
absolutely.
He has a plan, but he wants to be the Mandalore. He wants to be the one to take it from Boca Tan.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what it is. And I think at the end of the day, I agree. I think it's the last. I'm sorry to say, I love having Giancarlo Esposito in the Star Wars universe. I love having him here. He's just a phenomenal presence. So not having him is sad, but I think it's definitely run its course. And what a great character he was for us, a great enemy he was for us, so to speak. So
R.I.P. Moff Gideon.
R.I.P. All right, let's move on to our next segment here. After that, we have.
Hear a lot of carbon scoring here. Looks like you boys have seen a lot of action.
Seen a lot of action. Our favorite action bits in here. I will start this one if you don't mind. I have one honorable mention, which I want to mention, which is my favorite shot. My favorite shot wasn't an action moment. But my favorite shot was the shot of Boca Tan flying, taking out the Darksaber, and leading the Mandalorians into charge. That was a great shot. But my favorite action sequence itself, it was Din versus the Gauntlet. It was the raid moment. It was the going through. So it just kind of built, like he said, R5, next gate, boom, 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 boom. Like it was like methodical. It was the best Din's ever looked action sequence, like fighting wise. He just like you're throwing the kicks the way he was doing them. It was just a very powerful moment. I loved it so much. Every bit of that action got me hepped up. And I know we had a great sequence after that, and it kept going up with Moff and the Praetorian Guards and everything. But leading up to that was my I'm excited. I can't wait to see what's going on next. Every time a new gate dropped, go get that bitch.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Mine's exactly the same. Because I've never seen capoeira used in a Star Wars thing before. Which is it's a traditional Brazilian dance, but it's also a martial art. You see, if you've ever played Tekken 3, the character of Eddie Gordo, the one that's like moving like that, and he does like all the spinning stuff. It's essentially that, and I know Lateef Crowder is very proficient in that. So seeing him do that in such a confined space, where Din's essentially walking a tightrope. If he makes one wrong move, he's gonna fall over. The choreography that must have gone into that is outstanding. I think I keep saying that I would kill to even just to have one training session with Lateef Crowder, because his stunt work, his choreography, that dude is the man. That dude is the fucking man. And yeah, I really enjoyed that sequence. If I had to give an honorable mention, it would probably be when Boca Tan joins the fight, when she joins the fight with Moff Gideon.
Yeah,
because I was like, oh crap, is she like, are they even gonna notice? Is Din just gonna get his ass kicked? Right. But then they see Bo, like she kills one of the dark troopers, and then she sees, and then she's like, oh, I'm gonna go fucking kill this guy. And
right.
Like, yes, go get him.
God, I love Bo. That's the one sad thing I have going forward. I'll say it now. This is not a Force vision necessarily, but I almost feel like it's almost impossible not to. I kind of feel like we're going to get a lot less Bo moving forward and stuff. Like I don't see where her place is necessarily. She was such a integral part of the series and the season. The season was really just as much about her and finding her place. I feel like we're not going to get as much of her. Although maybe the Mando movie, maybe we'll get her more from there. So I'll hold on hope.
Oh, my Force vision may shine a light.
Okay.
on that.
Okay. All right. I hope you're right. 'Cause I love Katie Sackhoff. I love Boca Tan. I think I love that connectivity of the character from all the way back in the Clone Wars today. So the more we get of Boca Tan, I'm happy with. I love Boca Tan. So, okay. Next segment then we have.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.
Our favorite humorous moments of the week. Could be anything as well. We'll start with you. What do you think about what was your favorite humorous moment of the week?
The mouse droids ramming into R5. They did nothing. They were doing absolutely nothing. And then R5 was just like, you know what? I don't want any of this aggravation. Like, I'm not even supposed to be here today. I'm out of here.
Yeah, that was a pretty funny moment. Like having to talk, like I was like, what is going on here? I actually almost picked that myself, but I was having got a random. I don't even know if it was meant to be humorous, but I still got a chuckle out of it. During the gauntlet, at one point, I think one of the first parts of the gauntlet, he knocks this guard. That guard has a blaster of some kind or something, and Din knocks him, but he falls off the edge there. And Din makes this like grab for the gun, but like totally whiffs on it.
Yeah,
and I don't know why
like,
it made me chuckle. I was like, damn it.
Yeah.
You should have been sooner. Oh, God.
Part of me also thinks that maybe that was a mistake that they left in.
That's actually not a bad thing. That's not a bad thought. I wonder if that was like one of those things where like kind of you should grab the blaster here and you missed it. He's like, oh, fuck. Oh.
Yeah, like the Teeth went to grab it and missed it. They were like, no, leave that in. That's cool.
That's kind of fun. Yeah, that would make sense, actually. Absolutely. So either way, it did make me chuckle for a weird reason. I don't know why I found it funny, but I did. So you never know what you find sometimes. All right. Our next to last segment then is the Parsec segment.
It's a ship that made the Kessel run in less than 12 parsecs.
Quite simply, we rate this. We rate the episode between 1 and 11, because we always turn things up to 11 here on PLD Projects. What do you rate this episode?
Fuck the haters. This is an 11. This stuck the landing for their story perfectly. For the story of Din and Grogu, this was the perfect ending to this chapter of their story. Same with 2. It was the perfect ending for that chapter of their story. I feel like we are going to get more Boca Tan action, but I'll come on to that in Force Vision. Yeah, this was fun. This was just good guys beat bad guys. Good guys live happily ever after until they're needed again. That's what Star Wars is, people. Guess what? Fun can be good. Good is fun. Like, yeah, I thought this was great. I loved it. I came away from this with the biggest shit-eating grin on my face because I was like, yes, perfect ending.
Nice. I will give it a 10 out of 11. Very similar. Like I said, I had some minor disappointments, some minor quibbles. I do think it was rushed a little smidge for me. At times, but I did center in at the end after sitting on it, and I rewatched it again this morning. I really do like the ending. I think it is a perfect ending for what we were given. Not everything has to have a Empire Strikes Back dark ending. We're not always dark and grim. Sometimes we have happy endings, and this was, for the most part, a happy ending. We still have things out there. Obviously, the Imperial remnants are still there. Obviously, we still have like stories to tell. We know Thrawn's coming and everything else. But it was the perfect self-contained ending. Like when you take away the threads of this, we need to expand out and connect all the stories to what's coming and tease what's coming. We didn't need all of that. We had the ending that this season needed, or this season kind of set up. The ending of we have reunited Mandalore. We have gotten the Mandalorians are stronger together once again. We have Din and Grogu united and back on again. They're together and they've done their bit helping out with the Mandalorian culture, and they're going to leave and go back to doing what they do. So yeah, I honestly speaking, I agree. I don't know what else you really could actually have asked for, with the exception of this, if you wanted to see the cameos or the tending leads. Other than that, you got great action sequences. You got great emotional moments. You had characters doing what they're like, reaching their goals. Like it's set up perfectly. And you can argue with me all you want, and you can say that the season was a messy for you or whatever. That's fine. It is what it is. You have your. I mean, I'm not telling you have to like it. I'm not telling you that. I'm sorry if it didn't work for you. I get it. It doesn't work for everybody. I understand. I would actually understand why this season didn't work for some people. Some people would argue that it took away from what the Mandalorian was, which was the adventures within Grogu. Well, guess what? I think you're getting that back, and that's fine. It didn't. It wanted to present a different thing this season. They said, "Oh, we're going to take this a different. We're going to take this a little sideways and take it on a different roadway." And if you didn't like that roadway, that's fine. That's okay. I understand your complaints. It worked for me though. I highly enjoy it because I know it's temporary. I feel like people at once want to know too much and want to get too much too soon. In other hands, they don't want people to experiment at all. I liken this back to the day, and this is going to be I don't know if this reference is going to connect to anybody besides myself. Queen, my favorite band in the world, did an album in 1982 called Hot Space. And it was
okay. I know where you're going with this.
It was very poorly received. It was Queen deciding to do like a disco type thing, dancey type stuff, club stuff. Freddie was writing all the stuff that he was hearing in the gay clubs around the area. He pushed to write this stuff. And man, did the fans hate it because it wasn't rock and roll.
I wasn't the biggest. I'll be honest. I'm not the biggest fan of that album. I feel like if that was a Freddie Mercury album, cool.
And I would argue with you, actually, the funny thing is, it's really only like half the album. The second half of the album is actually more of a typical Queen album. The first like 4 or 5 songs are definitely more in that dance vein. But Freddie put it best on the tour for that album. Like Freddie kind of addressed it directly. He's like, it's only a bloody record. It's one record. We want to try some new things out. We did something different. We haven't lost who we are. We just want to try something different. Some of the fans went along with it, and some of them didn't. They came back and did the works and was more of a back to form type of record for them. So it's the same type of thing. We're going to take this a little bit different direction. Not going to be Grogu and Dave adventure of the week kind of thing. It's going to be more. We're going to get the whole Mandalorian crew back together. It's going to be a Boca Tan story with Din and Grogu. And now that's done. And we can go back and do our own thing. It doesn't wreck the show, but that's my own personal outlook on it.
And here's the thing. This is more Star Wars than what we've been getting.
Yeah.
Bad Batch was depressing as hell. Andor was depressing as hell. This is fun, whimsical. Good guys come in, beat the crap out of the bad guys, go home and live happily for a while.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And like I get here's the thing. Everyone wants to know where's Thrawn, where's this person, what's going on here, what's going on here. Guys, you're gonna have to give Star Wars Explained a little bit of a break.
Patience. This is all coming.
It's gonna happen. Just wait. My thing is like, you don't get onto a roller coaster expecting to analyze every single turn that happens. No, you just get on and enjoy the ride.
Right, absolutely.
Just get on and take the ride. Enjoy the ride.
Absolutely.
Live in the moment. I know that the internet is such a blown up of this microcosm of fan base that. And I get that there's a segment of the fandom that apparently their favorite part of Star Wars is an equivalent to a school shooting.
Jesus.
But the Mandalorian ain't that, bro.
Right.
This is fun.
Right.
Enjoy it. And if you don't, I'm sorry you don't enjoy it, but there's other Star Wars for you and it's coming. The Acolyte, I promise, is going to be for you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's going to be the action slam banger, and that's going to be a big, big win for them, I feel. Yeah, so that's exactly what I said. I'm just trying to say you don't have to like it, but just don't take it so seriously where you're like really that upset about it. Just take a break. And at the end of the day, after the 5th season of Mandalorian comes out and you do a rewatch of season 1 through 5, maybe you'll appreciate this a little more with the complete story behind it afterwards. Maybe you won't. Maybe you'll skip the season and go on. And that's okay too. We're all here. So just enjoy yourselves, guys. And don't be an asshole about it. Don't be an asshole about it either way. If you don't like it, somebody doesn't like it, then you don't have to yell at them for not liking it. That's their choice. Same time, if you don't like it, don't have to be a dick about it either. Don't be a dick.
It's the Ant-Man Quantumania quote. Just don't be a dick. There's such a thing as toxic positivity as well. Like,
absolutely,
you don't have to ram things down everyone's throat if they don't enjoy it. But at the same time, don't like. Ken said it best, and we can move on to Force Vision after this. Like, I don't have to stand here and defend Disney. I don't have to stand here and defend Lucasfilm, but I am sure as shit gonna defend the thing that I love and the people that enjoy it.
Yes, absolutely. I will also actually go a step further. I will defend your right to not like Disney Star Wars. It's
Yeah.
fine. Absolutely. I just don't want to stand here and listen to you complain about it. And that's my right too. That's okay. I
Yeah,
choose
you-
to focus on positivity. I don't love everything. I tend to focus more on positive things because I like to talk about positive things. If I want to watch something, I don't want to complain about the things I didn't like. I'd rather talk about the stuff I did like because that's more enjoyable.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm an outlier, but
Apparently so.
all right. Let's move on then to our last segment of this review. We call this one Force Vision.
Premonitions? Premonitions.
And this is where we take a look at something in the episode and go, okay, what's coming up in the future? I usually say what's coming up next week, but next week nothing's coming up because we don't have anything. So future storylines, maybe future season 4, or the connected Mandoverse, or even some of the movies that are coming. What do we think is going to happen? Do you want to start this one?
Book of Boca Tan, baby. Give it to me. Give it to me.
No, I didn't even consider that. I really didn't even consider that. I don't know why I didn't.
There's no reason that they would do a Book of Boba Fett and that be the only book thing. Like, give us the Book of Boca Tan. Let us see her surrender the Darksaber. Let us see her go on to the bitch. By the way, that shot of her lighting the Great Forge and then all the clans, like, I want to go and get some like metal bangles and just start like banging my wrists together. Like that shot was so sick.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Book of Boca Tan, give it me.
I love that. I mean, I hope that they don't. I mean, obviously, Book of Boba Fett was a little divisive and didn't get as much ratings as some of the other stuff did. I'm hoping that Disney doesn't look at that and say no, they can't. Because I would love to see a Book of Boca Tan. I think that'd be great. I mean, some people would argue that this was the Book of Boca Tan. That was one of the criticisms, was that it was too much Boca Tan this season in a show, and not necessarily that they didn't like Boca Tan. It's that it was a Book of Boca Tan. Boca Tan took over the Mandalorian show, which, you know, I can understand that complaint to a degree. Din was a little more sidelined than he had been previously. But I'm all for it. Let's give her own show. I'd love to see more specifically about books, especially now that Mando, another Din, is moving away from the Mandalorian. He's got his own, which I'm going to talk about in my fourth vision. It'd be kind of cool to continue the adventures of Boca Tan behind the scenes, or Boca Tan on Mandalore, continue the adventures of that crew. And that's actually coming together. I mean, maybe that's something that's going to be dealt with in the movie, but I don't think it's going to be dealt with in Ahsoka at all. And I don't think it's going to be dealt with in Skeleton Crew at all. So this opens up a slot. I almost feel like they should have announced it, but maybe they didn't want to. Maybe it's Celebration, they didn't want to give it away. That maybe they wanted you to think that Boca Tan could die.
They got so much stuff coming as well. Like, I think they learned. They learned from D23, I think, when they were like, we're going to go that Lando, Rogue Squadron, No, announce what you got in the pipeline.
Yeah. I'm all for it. I hope it works. That's a great idea, and I am all for it.
What's yours, bud?
My Force Vision is a little bit of both. It's that I always try. I want to please everybody. I would love for Star Wars to please everybody, all the fans. Like, I know it's not going to happen, but I almost feel like in a way we're going to attempt that to a degree. And I like what they're heading for. I wasn't sure if I'd like it or not, but I think moving forward, we're going to get Mando, Din and Grogu. It's going to go back to like season 1, season 2, like, which a lot of complaints have been. So I'm like, well, season 1, season 2 are really strong. Season 3 is kind of a mess. Season 1 and 2 is Din and Grogu together, the adventure of Din and Grogu. I think we're going back to that, kind of go back to basics, but at the same time, we're doing it smartly because we're not ignoring everything that happens. We're not ignoring the New Republic by setting them up, Din and Grogu up on their own again. But as contracting for the New Republic, we get to keep him like still back and forth. He has to go in and out of the overall story. Let's call the overall story of the New Republic. That's like where we're in there now.
That's what it is. That's what the movie's going to be: the New Republic versus the Imperial Remnant.
Absolutely. It's not really, and I almost feel like we should stop calling it the Mandoverse movie and the Mandoverse as a whole, because it's not. That's not it. The Mandalorian is the show, and it's called the Mandoverse because it happens to take place in that time. But it's really the New Republic. That's the story. That's the story that's the story Ahsoka's connecting to. That's the story that Skeleton Crew is going to connect to. And that's the story that Dave Filoni's movie is going to connect to. Mandalorian is a different thing. It's connected, but it's not the central bit anymore. It's spun off the Mandalorian, but now it's a different thing. So Mandalorian can kind of almost take a breath and go over to the side again. have the adventures of Din and Grogu and not be as overtly important to the New Republic stuff. He can do stuff on the side, but yet it's still going to be connected. It's still going to have those moments where like Carson Teo is going to call on him and he's going to do something. It's going to lead something against Thrawn somewhere down the line. And I'm sure as fuck Din's going to be brought back in for the New Republic movie at this point. Din and Grogu would definitely be part of that movie. I feel like he'd have to. But I feel like it's a great way to try to do what everybody wants. Din and Grogu together, the Adventures of Din and Grogu together. Still a story going on in the side, in the back. It's just a little bit more in the background. And that's what I think we're going to get.
Yeah, I agree. I think then it's going to be Ahsoka that picks up the mantle for the next part of the New Republic story. And I would be surprised if, from what I'm led to believe, Filoni's movie is probably going to be more in that towards that 2027 spot. They've still got a lot of setting up to do.
Mm-hmm.
We just had one thing. It's not going to be the Mandalorians versus the Imperial Remnant. No, it's the New Republic versus the Imperial Remnant. They've got a lot of stuff that they still need to set up.
Yeah, and I think they're going to do it pretty well. I think they have it also. Like we have obviously Ahsoka. Kept sounding I was like Acolyte, no, but Ahsoka is coming out in August. Skeleton Crew is supposed to come out in December-ish. Next year we have the Acolyte, which won't be involved at all. Mandalorian season 4 maybe next year already, potentially, because it's pretty much written in script. I would be surprised if it's already filmed a little bit, to be honest with you. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't hear anything. And that's 2024. That means we have at least another year or so of more stuff. So maybe if it's not Ahsoka season 2, maybe that's where the Book of Boca Tan comes in. Maybe that's where the Rangers of the New Republic take place. Although I almost feel like season 4 of The Mandalorian, the way it's set up, is almost what Rangers of the New Republic was going to be. Like, I feel like it's just going to be Poe and Din leading on with Carson Teva's crew kind of like matching up a little bit more. But yeah, there's a lot of places to go. I think there's a lot of things we're going to see that we don't know about yet that's going to tie it in more towards the Mandalorian, or towards the Filoni movie. I'm going to try to train myself now to call it the New Republic movie. So I want to get out of the Mandoverse. I think calling it the Mandoverse movie is a disservice.
The New Republic era. Let's just call it what they're calling it. It's the They've called it the New Republic era. That's what it's called.
Because but even like some of the creators have still called it the Mandoverse, but I kind of feel like it's just disservice in a way, because it makes the Mandalorian and Din more important than he actually probably is to the story. And I'm not saying he's not important, but I don't think he's the central character. Din has his own story. That's his own separate thing. That is not anything to do with New Republic. It might intertwine at times, and he'll probably be involved, but he's not the center of it.
He has his own song.
Exactly. It is yet to be sung. It's being sung a little bit. Maybe Matty, you can sing it for him. All right. Anything last on the docket for you about this episode in particular, or shall we move on?
Nah, not for me, man. I know you got a heart out as well, so
I'm gonna actually. I don't. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going.
Okay.
With the news.
Fuck it. We'll do it live.
We're going to do it that way. So let's, all right. Yeah, last thing, I guess, nothing else I have to say. I just want to say I enjoyed this season. I think it's a positive thing overall. I understand what people didn't like some of it. It has some messy moments, but at the end of the day, I was highly entertained, highly enjoyable. I can't wait for season 4. And I really can't wait for Ahsoka, because I really want more Star Wars content now. We are spoiled right now, people. We are very spoiled. This is back in the day when we had a movie every 3 years, and that was it. Now we have all stuff coming up, and I'm like, I can't wait 3 months. But either way, let's move on then to our next bit of the show. We have finished that part of the episode. We're going to go into the news. We have some news, a lot of not many big pieces of news, but things I just want to touch base on before we wrap it up. One thing we missed it was like happened right after last week's episode. Got another cast added. Wes Chatham is going to be Captain Enoch, which is described as Thrawn's right-hand man in the Ahsoka series.
Which I thought was Rook. So is this guy going to be essentially the new Rook?
Well, Rook is dead. Remember in Rebels, he died in Rebels.
Uh-huh.
I thought it might be the guy from the books, whose name is Eli Vanto from the books, maybe.
Oh yeah, that dude.
But it's Captain Enoch, so it's not the same names. I don't think they would change names.
Eli Enoch.
So I'm kind of confused as to who this guy's going to be. But interestingly enough, I have to say, I don't know the character.
Elijah Kane. Huh?
Ooh. Maybe. I think you should put down the hookah and
It's strong. Whatever I do, it is stronger than hookah.
All right, moving on then. That was a little snippet. I don't really know much about West Chatham himself, so it is what it is. All right, let's see. Next up, this was an interesting one for me. There was a report in Star Wars News Net. Of course, this is where I curate all my news because they curate all the best news around, and they do it in a way which is, like I always say, it's good at determining what is real, what is rumor, what is false. They had a report that Filoni's films might actually be targeting a 2026 release date instead of 2027. Initially, it was supposed to be, I guess it was supposed to be 2027 or something to that effect. We have, although it's kind of interesting, I've heard different things about 2025. Obviously, the leak we had initially that was given to investors at one point was there's an untitled Star Wars movie in 2025, 2027, and 2029 to December. I've heard different things. I've heard they were going to try to shoot to get the Rey movie back in first. I've actually heard some rumors about Mangold's movie coming in first. I've actually heard some rumors about Filoni movie coming in first. I don't know either way, but I know I have heard also that Disney was really wanted Lucasfilm to hit the 2025 slot. That's one thing I did hear. So putting all the tea leaves together and trying to avoid irresponsible speculation, it was maybe there'd be a 2025, 2027, 2029 was what we were going on. Indications were that Filoni might be targeting a 2026 release date. Now, does that mean it was going to be the first one in 2025 and they pushed it back to 2026? Or is it 2027? They're moving it up to 2026? I don't know. Is there a chance that 2025, 2027, 2029 are scheduled and that they are still going to, doesn't mean 2026 and 2028 aren't scheduled? Because I've heard rumors that they want to go back to 1 year, one movie a year. A lot of open space here. But one more thing I'll add to the mix before I let you have your say on it is that James Cameron indicated Avatar 4 was initially scheduled for the December 2026 slot. He then recently said it might be pushed back from that slot to 2027, which might be one reason to slot the Star Wars movie in there. Maybe. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I was also going to say, I think they're planning the third Dune to come out in 2026. So that's, I don't know if that's, but it's Star Wars versus Dune. I'm pretty sure I know which one's going to win that fight. But it's a year. If it's 2025 or 2026, it's a year. Either way, chop, Dave, get to work. I don't care when it comes out, as long as it comes out soon. Get to work.
You know, it is what it is. We're never going to. This is all really big speculation at this point. They specifically, I think they specifically didn't mention dates during celebration, which is a good thing. I think you let it. Yeah, you let it develop as it's going to develop, especially with the writers' strike coming up. I know that's going to maybe throw some things in there. Although, that being said, the writers' strike actually is okay. Maybe okay as far as Star Wars goes, because if you think about it, we know the Mandalorian season 4 is already done. Scripts are done for that show, as we've heard. Favreau's done with it. Some of the live action shows are already done. The animated Bad Batch is definitely done. They're probably filming at this point already for season 3. So the films could be a little bit problematic at that point. That's where we don't know how far along. I know that supposedly the Rey film was supposed to have a script done in 6 weeks, which would be right around the time the strike's supposed to start. I don't know. The strike is I hate the strikes for how it affects things, but I understand that it affects real people, and so the real people need the strike. I understand that, and I side with them.
It's life in the UK right now. Everyone is striking.
It is what it is. I mean, we can't. I'm not going to say don't strike for don't work for your heart. You don't deserve these benefits, because I know they get shit pay and they get shit benefits sometimes, and that's unfortunate. Or they don't at least get measured to the kind of work they put in. So I understand it needs to be done. I'm sad that it ends up fucking some things over. We never got George Miller's Justice League Dark because of that. The writer's strike through that for Lubin never came back into play. And I remember Heroes, the TV show Heroes, got fucked a little bit out of that. And I quickly put things together. It didn't work out well for them. I think Lucasfilm is knows it's coming, and they've done their best. I think that's why they got the Mandalorian done when they did, and I think they have some things in place. So hopefully it won't. Hopefully they can get over the strike. Hopefully they can come to an agreement sooner rather than later. But yeah, that might. We don't. So that's why it's up in the air. I think that's one reason why they didn't mention dates. We don't know what's going to go on. We got to figure out when we're going to get the scripts and when we can work on it. So. All right. Next little bit of news I want to touch base on. There's a press release from Lucasfilm, and it was regarding Celebration, and it seemed to indicate that Andy Serkis is returning to Andor season 2. Now, with that being said,
I told you he was alive. I knew it. I knew he made it out. I knew it.
Now, I'm going to read specifically from it. This is what it said. This is what the press release said specifically. The cast and creators of the highly acclaimed Disney Plus original series Star Wars Andor were on hand to treat fans to an exclusive first look at the second and final season, which is currently in production and chronicles the next steps in Andor's journey as he fights to assemble a fledgling resistance. Kathleen Kennedy, Tony Gilroy, Sam Wollenberg, Diego Luna, and Luke Hall are executive producing the upcoming season, which stars Luna, Adria Arjona, Kyle Soler, Deniska, Genevieve O'Reilly, Andy Serkis, Mohamed Baher, and Jocelyn Subtain. That's what the press release says. Now, could this have been an error in Lucasfilm's press release because Andy Serkis was on scene for the Celebration panel? So maybe some schmo press release saw his name there and threw that in there. I want to say I don't want to jump the gun and say, oh, definitively this is proof he's in it, and then when he's not in it, we get pissed off, right? I don't want to do that. I hate doing that. But it is interesting to think about.
It's Disney and Lucasfilm, bro. Their PR department is the best of the best. I don't think there was a typo in there. I think whenever they do let a little thing slip, I think that's kind of on purpose to feed the punditry, to keep the talk going. That's the name of the game. That's the whole thing about PR. Having worked somewhat in the entertainment industry, that's the name of the game. I find it very, very, very hard to believe that Lucasfilm or Disney, knowing that could spark the, oh my God, Andy Serkis is back in it. What? I find it very hard to believe they'd make a mistake like that. And I, for one, cannot wait for the scene where Cassie's going to be on Yavin 4, and he's going to hear one way out from the other side of the room, and he's going to turn around, and there is Kino Loy, Commander Kino Loy.
And you know what? You absolutely could be right. I would say the only thing that gives me hesitation, it feels like it's a weird ploy for them to announce his return in there because we didn't know the outcome of his life, and then we don't know what happened to him. Technically, we always saw was he lost face. It's almost implied that he didn't make it out. It's implied that way. So I almost feel like they'd want it to be a surprise when he comes into play. So why would you leak that in a press release like this? Especially that's one that's not about Andor. It's about Celebration. That's the only thing I'll throw out there. I don't know. Maybe it was a mistake to put him in there. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe he's in it and they shouldn't have put him in there, and that's what the mistake was. I don't know. Either way, I am not banking on it, but it is intriguing. So, all right. Let's move on. Another one. We have a rumor. Again, this is classified as a rumor that James Mangold was going to tackle his Star Wars movie before Swamp Thing. That was a big thing. I know that he was doing Swamp Thing for DC. Both things were confirmed. But the initial talk would have been he was going to do Swamp Thing first and then come back to Star Wars, which kind of led up to what we initially kind of had said, because the way it's been implied was that Rey's film was coming first because that was the one that was worked on the most. Now one had the script in play, and now yada, yada, yada. So that was going to be 2025, and that Mando would be 2027. Or, sorry, New Republic movie was going to be 2027, and that would push Mangold to 2029 if we were going to go along that initial 2025, 27, 29 structure. That might just not be a part of it. But if he's going to do this before Swamp Thing, maybe we don't know what the fuck we're talking about. Maybe that's the thing. We don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
And I will say something very quickly on this. We can leave it on the podcast, but an off-the-record discussion that you and I had, this also lends credence to that.
It does. Potentially, we have to see.
So that's for the Patreon.
That's okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Next up, we have just an interesting. This is a quick bit. Leslie Headland was talking about her making the Acolyte and making Jedi the bad guys and stuff. But the most important part, most important or fun part of the article for me was the fact that she is bringing a Clone Wars species into live action. We are getting a Zygerian in the Acolyte, which is cool.
Oh, baby.
And here's what I have to say about that. First of all, give it to me. I love that idea. And second of all, it makes me very happy that someone like Leslie is involved, because Leslie is obviously such a Star Wars fan. And when you have a fan like that and that is such an in-depth fan of the entire expanded universe, they get to pull things that we fans want to see as well. She's a fan like us. She wants to see a Zygerian because that's what happened. Is that a big? Let's get a Zygerian.
She showed up to the main panel dressed as Padme, and then showed up to the High Republic panel and started talking about how Vanestra Rowe is going to be in the Acolyte.
Yes, absolutely. So she definitely loves the idea.
One of us.
One of us. Exactly. One of us. So I'm excited about that. All right, next two bits of news pieces I want to say. Cast of Ahsoka discussing accessibility to new fans, to as far as Rebels and Clone Wars fans, et cetera, and other bits of things. And some couple of quotes I want to throw out there. Mary Elizabeth Winstead on Hera was asked about what the proper, like, what would you go, what's the essential Hera to look back to? And I love the answer. I would say going back to not even on Rebels, but the Bad Batch, kind of starting with that. I mean, that for me was so great to see her as a child, because anytime as an actor, if you can figure out what your character went through as a child, it's so instrumental in figuring out who they are as a person. So that was really great for me to get to see that childlike joy in her and her desire to do that. I love that.
I love it. I just want to be at the McGregor Winstead household on Star Wars night. Like, can you imagine you and McGregor and Mary Elizabeth Winstead just kicking up on a Sunday night watching Star Wars together?
That'd be so cool to be a part of.
Great.
And Ewan's daughter could hang out there too, and she's a part of the crew too.
She is, yeah. And then you go across the street and hang out with the Mickelsons.
There you go. Perfect. So that was a cool quote, I thought. Ray Stevenson just had a cool quote. I'll leave it as it is. Collider, I guess, asked him, "What is your relationship with Thrawn? Is it adversarial? Is it friendly? What can you tease?" Stevenson answered, "Yes."
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's fine.
Makes sense.
Go watch any interview with Ray Stevenson. That man is a man of very few words. So.
And it leads credence to the possible theory that he is a Jorah Sabath character, because in the Heir to the Empire trilogy, Jorah Sabath was friendly and adversarial with Thrawn at different points of that saga. So potentially in there.
Don't give me hope.
Question asked to all the cast members was, out of all the episodes of Ahsoka, did they have their favorite? Rosario Dawson, who is a treasure to the fans, she is a PR nightmare for Lucasfilm at times, did attempt a cagey response and just went as in episode 5 was going to be her favorite potentially. So,
she has 5 episodes that are her favorite.
Maybe that could be.
But yeah, I reckon that's probably what she meant.
Yeah. Finally, Rosario Dawson also had a good quote. It was so about Ahsoka specifically. It was so nice to deep dive into where they are at emotionally. We didn't get to see that or explore that so much on Mandalorian and on Book of Boba Fett. Her character, she means. It sort of hints at it. I think you get to see the sacrifice that they're grappling with and the vigilance that it takes for them to still know that there's a threat out there they have to be on top of. It's a lonely business to be out there fighting a threat that people don't even believe is real. It's really exciting as we go along, just how it was seated in the context and the subtext of it. For the fans who know and for the fans who don't, it was really nice. Getting me more and more excited. I'm not gonna lie. One last quote I'll mention before we wrap things up. Collider reached out to Lars Mikkelsen after the panel and was asked him about Dave Filoni's writing for the series, which he described as very strong, before hinting something. So his quote was, "His writing is very good. It's very strong. All characters have their own. You'll probably not totally know what it's all about until the last scene." And I like that in writing, that you take the audience so seriously that we drag it right to the last moment to reveal what the whole thing was about. So interesting that we're going to have a big moment at the end, potentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything got to say about those last two quotes from Ahsoka, from Rosario, or from Lars?
My birthday is on August 9th, which is a Wednesday. Lucasfilm, you know what to do. Give it to me. That'll be the best birthday present that they could give me.
I love it. So, all right, that's gonna wrap it up, I guess, for tonight. Unless you have anything else you wanted to throw out there about Star Wars news or Star Wars Mandalorian or anything.
Star Wars is great. Be good to everyone, whether they love Star Wars or not. Someone may have a conflicting opinion with you, not just on Star Wars, but on life. And I feel like we need to stop alienating those people, whether it be, again, Star Wars fans or in life, because that just adds to the confrontation. That just adds to the negativity. I think if someone has a differing opinion from you, you should ask them why. It's not about the how, it's about the why, to quote our good friends at Force Center. And, just engage, try to be civil online. I know it's rough to do, but remember that the outside world is not online. Twitter and the whole Star Wars Twitter thing, it's just a blown up proportion of a microcosm of life. So just enjoy these things while we have it. Be cool to everyone. You don't always have to agree. I'm not saying you have to agree with everyone. Just don't jump down everyone's throats just because of Star Wars. It's not worth it.
Sounds good. Well said, my friend. Well said. Where can the folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Matty Gunner, Instagram Matty_Gunner. You can find my band Mourner, MOURNER, on all streaming services. Brand new song, The Axe Forgets, is out now, and I will be in the studio this Saturday for the next song. You can find me here every other Tuesday for Class Action with PLD here and Mr. Richard Eric Jarvie. Last night we did God, what did we do last night? Air Moneyball versus Air. God, I can't believe I forgot that we did it last night. Great show. We had a lot of new faces in the chat that, people in the community that we haven't spoken to in a while that came through. It was a lot of fun. I believe in 2 weeks' time, we're going to be doing Social Network versus Steve Jobs. Ooh. And you can find me here every Wednesday for Holy Snokes. And just announced, literally just seen it pop up on my phone, Sunday, I will be on A Certain Point of View with our good friends Molly Damon and Jillian Marie for Happy Hour.
Oh, good for you. That should be a lot of fun. Can't wait to see that for sure.
Apple teenies, baby. Easy on the teeny.
Absolutely. All righty there. You can find me at Paul_Denizio on Twitter. And you can find me here on PLD Projects doing all sorts of fun things here and there. We out, like you said, Holy Snokes every week, Class Action every other week, 2 Mediocre White Dudes on Film every other week. I have some podcasts called Review coming up tomorrow. I'm going to be releasing a video about the V timelines that we're going to be covering on Review. Also on my sister channel, Crown Jewels, going through the Queen discography track by track. This week, took last week off. This week we were discussing Roger Taylor's I'm in Love with My Car, which is a very fun song from Night at the Opera. And I guess that should do it. You could find me. I guess you could find me also producing for The Big Thing on the Christian Harloff Network, as well as stopping by on Action Industries every once in a while still, although they do a little bit less recently as times go by. But yeah, I'm also going to be on Settle the Score very soon.
Yes, dude.
Myself versus the Barbarian Craig Gainian. We're recording that tonight, so that should be a fun one for sure. I'm not sure when it's airing yet, but
I love Settle the Score. That is such a good premise for a show that no one does.
Right,
so
it is.
I love that show. It's so good.
I am 1-0, having defeated JTE. So I'm gonna, I guess, make my way through the entire FinSoc Exchange or former members of the FinSoc Exchange one by one. Hopefully that's my goal. So I guess we'll see.
I don't know. Craig's a pretty big music guy.
Oh, he
is. You may have your hands full.
I will fully admit I find myself decently enough at movie trivia, but I'm not so sure on this one. But I'll have fun regardless. So we'll find out. Also, a shout out, of course, like I said before, hit that like, hit that subscribe. And if you want to help the channel out even further, patreon.com/PLD Projects. Got a bunch of great people in there, including Austin Cadell, Jeremiah Morris, Matty Kearns, Brandon Buckingham, Jeff Altman, John Lestrina. Couldn't thank you guys enough. And the rest of you as well. Help me keep the lights on. yeah, I can't wait for more of this stuff. We're gonna start having some guests here on Holy Snokes as well soon. We've had some internal discussions about that, just about reaching out and finding the right time to record things with. But you can look forward to that for sure. And yeah, go check out Matty on Certain Point of View. I can't wait to see that, my friend. But otherwise, I guess that's it for us. We will see you next week, where we're all going to be. Well, let's say it out there now. We're going to have the news of the week. Obviously, we're also going to be pitching our own celebration. That's how we're doing this week. And the great Matty had his great idea where we're going to discuss what we'd want our perfect celebration to be. I'll detail it more later on. If that sounds interesting to you, come back for more. And then the week after that, I could do 2 episodes that week. Visions comes out, of course, that week. So we should have an episode covering the first season of Visions, and probably the next episode on May 4th. May the 4th be with you. We will discuss the second season of Visions. But that's then. This is now. Take care, my friends. I will see you next time. May the Force be with you. Always.